All right, what's going on, big dog? So Ruby Frankie has finally been sentenced to 30 years in prison, or a maximum of 30 years in prison, alongside her business partner, Jody Hildebrandt. So for those of you who don't know, just a quick rundown, these two actually ran and operated a kind of family vlog channel, which was basically used to try to help new parents on how to raise their kid, different parenting advices, different parenting tips, tricks, that kind of stuff. And they got really popular. I believe at one point they had over 5 or 6 million subscribers. They were doing very, very well. And the channel was booming. The children looked happy and healthy for the most part. There was a few videos where you could kind of see where things were coming down the pipe, to say the least. But obviously back in August of 2023, one of her children, one of Ruby's children, actually escaped their house out of a window, ran to a neighbor's house, and was begging for food and water. And this kid had lacerations on him from being tied up with rope. He had duct tape on him from being tied up. And he was clearly really malnourished and dehydrated. Obviously, this involved the police then. They got involved and immediately arrested the pair for child neglect. And then since then, they've been sitting waiting for their trial. And that has finally happened. So the trial took place in Utah. And the maximum sentencing that you can have in Utah for continuous sentencings is 30 years. So they are both serving the maximum of 30 years. They have a couple days here, they have about a month to appeal the decision, but from the court hearings and from everything that they said, it doesn't seem like they'll even try to. Both of them basically admitted to it, but Ruby Frankie actually had some interesting takes on it, which is super interesting to read about. So Frankie actually came up in the court and she apologized to her children. She apologized to her husband, and she then wanted to thank all the first responders, or the police staff, the firemen, the EMTs, nursing staff, doctors, whoever was involved with making sure that her children were taken away safely and taken care of. She took the time to actually thank them. But the twist here was that she basically tried to pivot and dump all of this on her business partner, Jody Hildebrandt. So Jody was kind of the behind the scenes person. You know, maybe she was writing scripts, recording the videos, all that kind of behind the scenes stuff that you're not going to see in the videos. That was kind of her job, you know, scheduling videos, all that kind of stuff. And Ruby made the statement that she was led to believe that this world is an evil place filled with cops who control hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect and provide for their children, and continued on those same lines for a while. So her defense was really that this Hildebrandt was brainwashing her into doing these things, which obviously does not stand up well in court, okay? It's not exactly okay, if you guys haven't noticed, to just not feed your children. That was a big thing for a while on her channel. I remember hearing about her a few years back, because she's been doing this, the 8 Passengers YouTube channel, she's been doing this since 2015. I remember hearing stories of this girl or this mother who, when a school would call and say, hey, your kid forgot lunch, she would say, good, let them starve. I remember hearing stories of her just not feeding her kids at all for a whole day, if not multiple days, for them being troublemakers or causing issues, which, if any of you have ever grown up around siblings or have kids of your own, you would understand that kids are kind of just assholes sometimes, and that's just how they are, and you have to be there to guide them. You have to be there to show them that, yeah, you're being kind of a dick right now, and you need to stop that. Your punishment will be this if you do not quit. And taking away someone's food, malnourishing a child, abusing them. Obviously, she was tying them up, which I don't know how you can get that from the brainwashing side of things. Like, did she, even if she told you that the government is corrupt and that cops are just out for control and she brainwashed you into believing all these things, what makes you immediately think, oh, so instead of just being a normal mom who has some weird conspiracy theories out there about first responders and the government and things like that, what makes you pivot from that to, okay, so since I believe all this stuff, I should tie up my children and beat them relentlessly for doing something as minor as not doing the dishes when I asked, which is a real story. She has stated before that, oh, I asked my son to do this or asked my daughter to do that, and they didn't do it, so they starved all day. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I don't eat all day, like if I get up in the morning and I don't have breakfast and then I go to work and I don't have lunch, come supper time or dinner time, whatever you want to call it, I'm pretty upset. I'm going to be honest with you. I get hangry. I get a little hangry. And kids are no different. Kids are probably worse because as a full-grown adult, I can control myself pretty well. right? If somebody's being annoying or irritating and I haven't ate all day and I'm a little hangry, I can take a breath, take a step back, think about the situation I'm in, and move on from the situation. But kids, they don't have rational thinking really, especially young children. I believe the oldest of our kid is Frankie, the one who actually escaped out of the window, and he is 12 years old, last I checked. So even at that age, he's probably not fully functionally developed, neurologically speaking, to the point where he can just assess his emotions and why he might be upset. This just happened to me the other day. I didn't eat all day. I woke up late. I didn't have time for breakfast, and I forgot my lunch in the fridge. So I didn't eat all day. I got home and I knew I was a little bit irritated. I just didn't want anyone to talk to me. I had to make a few phone calls and get some bills and stuff sorted out quick. And I was just irritated, but I knew, all right, look, I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. Let's just get home, eat, get something to drink, give it a couple minutes to sit in, and I guarantee I'll be fine. And that's exactly what happened, because that's just how people are. People, your bodies need things. Your bodies need these, nutrition and water to function. So when you're not feeding your children, or you're beating them relentlessly, and then you're shocked and appalled when they continue to act out, I think you might be a moron. But it only gets worse from there, right? This lady went on to do things such as, there was an incident back in 2020 where she made one of her kids apparently sleep on a beanbag for like 7 months. I believe it was 6 or 7 months. She made this child sleep on a beanbag simply for not listening to her once. Or I believe the story was he like drew on the walls in his room or something, like any normal kid, right? I'm sure every kid has at least at one point destroyed something in the house by accident, or or stained something by accident. That's just children. And she decided that, you know what? You're going to not sleep in your room now, and you're going to be miserable for 7 months. 7 months. If you wanted to say one night and be like, yeah, it's not fun not sleeping in your bed, is it? Maybe you should treat your room a little better. Respect it. Okay, I can get behind that, right? One night on a beanbag isn't the worst. All right. And then it just continued to snowball from there, where there was kids complaining about her withholding food from them. She threatened to chop off the heads of their stuffed animals, and she even threatened to cancel their Christmas as a punishment, which I was a shitty kid. All right. Like I went to the office a lot as a kid. I almost got expelled a couple times. Keep in mind, I was really young. It wasn't like I was coming to school with drugs or alcohol or anything like that. I was just a really angry kid who didn't like hearing the word no, and so I would cry and throw a fit. And teachers don't like that, obviously. I was a troubled kid for reasons that basically I just was an asshole. That's really what it came down to. I just was a shitty kid. And even through all that, my parents never canceled Christmas on me. Sure, I might not have got to go to birthday parties, or I might not have been able to go on trips. Maybe I had to stay with my grandparents instead of going to the lake or going to the fair or something like that. Just there was a plethora of punishments better than canceling Christmas and threatening to destroy all the toys in the house. And it only got worse as the years went on. So again, this was in 2020 when the real abuse allegations were starting to come forward, the beanbag incident, the not feeding them, canceling Christmas stuff. And the channel really took a nosedive in 2022 when Frankie and her husband ended up getting a divorce. And good for this guy. I have a feeling that this guy should probably go to jail, or at least see some type of fines or something like that. There's no way he didn't know that a chunk of this was going on. You can sit there and say, oh, he had no idea. They were just filming it for YouTube videos. Okay, but when your wife has 6 million subscribers and millions of viewers and hundreds of thousands of loyal fans, you're going to see stuff. You're going to hear stuff from everyone. That is not a small audience. Okay, you're going to find stuff out. I have a feeling that maybe down the road, he'll actually maybe get in some trouble, or maybe behind the scenes, he kind of ratted her out and they kind of gave him a plea deal or something like that. I don't know, but there's a lot of criticism about how she's getting in all the trouble with her business partner and he's seeing none of the punishment. From the sounds of it, at least from Frankie herself, it sounded like he had no involvement in any of this. He just kind of did his own thing and took care of the kids when she was off doing stuff for her videos and editing and all that other jazz. But after they divorced, that is when the abuse kind of really became noteworthy. That included things like tying them up, beating and kicking them, neglecting to feed them, and forcing them to work outdoors in the summer without sunscreen, resulting in blistering, serious sunburns, according to police records. And to top it all off, In a plea agreement, Hildebrandt, the business partner, stated that she either tortured the children or was aware of the abuse, and that she forced Frankie's daughters to, quote unquote, jump into a cactus multiple times. So that is the kind of people we are talking about today. Like, it's just insane. Honestly, it's fantastic that they got the maximum sentence. I was a little worried about it. I was kind of worried that maybe they'd come out with some massive statement of, oh, my husband knew and he did this and she did that. I kind of thought they were both going to be sitting there pointing fingers at each other. But to their credit, obviously these are terrible people and they deserve to be locked up. But I got to give credit where credit is due. They both basically came forward, and other than the conspiracy theory stuff where they're like, oh, the government and the police and she brainwashed me, that kind of stuff, they basically came out and were like, yeah, we suck. We're shitty people. We don't deserve to be out in public. So honestly, it seems like they really came to their sentences overnight, or maybe their lawyers were just really convincing and being like, listen, you guys aren't getting off easy, and it would just be a lot easier for you. You'd probably get a less harsh sentence, and you'd probably get eligible for parole a lot sooner if you just came out, apologized like you should, and just took your loss, went to do your time, and learned from it. So I don't know if that's what happened, or if for whatever reason they just both decided like, hey, we suck and we should just admit what we did. But it was at least nice to see that there wasn't, like, the court case wasn't anything spectacular. They, like I said, they both just admitted to their crimes and went on with their day, basically. So, but anyways, guys, let me know what you think of the situation. Do you think the punishment should have been harsher, I guess? They did get the maximum sentencing, and like I said, in Utah, when it comes to continuous sentencing, so when you get multiple accounts and things like that, the maximum sentence is only 30 years. If that law wasn't in place, they would have got 60 years. So I don't know. There's some people upset about that, but honestly, I'm just happy that these two are going to be locked up at least for a while, which is good to hear. But anyways, guys, thank you for your time. If you did enjoy the video, remember, please leave a like, comment, and of course, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, turn on the notification bell so you know when I upload. And just a quick apology for those of you that care. I know I haven't uploaded in 11 days at this point. I had a kind of an emergency move, I guess. I had to move back home closer to family, just for family personal reasons and family emergency stuff. So it was like the last 2 weeks I've been back and forth. My old house was 4 hours away, so it was traveling 4 hours one way, 4 hours back, staying in one place, and traveling back, staying in this place, traveling back. So it was a lot of back and forth. It was a lot of time consuming, just activities. And then I couldn't get a technician out to set up my internet for about a week here, but it is finally all set up. And of course, I just had to hop on here and get a couple videos made. So there will be a few coming out this week, guys. So thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for your patience. And until next video, guys, Godspeed.